So the Gunvolt Chronicles Luminous Avenger X official trailer dropped on the 1st of June, which was a massive relief. The biggest reaction I had to the gameplay of the trailer was, wow, this person plays better than I ever will. And through the entire English trailer, which was my first viewing experience, I cringed constantly at the narrator. So you won't be getting a reaction post out of me, but you will get this analytical view of it, despite I'm very late to the party now because I wanted to finish the Pokemon video, and because I've just been busy and have had toothache in this recent period of time too, while aiming to record the audio for this video. I honestly predicted this story premise considering the progression of the story in the previous two games. In the first game we had Sumeragi using the Mew's ability to lure out and target adepts or people with Septima to kill or capture them, and recruiting or forcing adepts to act for their cause. Asimov's final motive was to wipe out humans as revenge for suppression of adepts. And he also warned Gunvolt that siding with both is unrealistic and he would have to choose between humans and adepts. Then we had Eden, who were adepts who wanted to create a paradise for adepts while aiming to eradicate humans. Now here we are with Sumeragi, who originally the group with that name was for controlling and killing adepts, is now adepts aiming to kill normal people on a mass scale, and it's fully in action in the world now, as we see by the scenery of the city in ruins. What the cringy narrator told us, and the fact minnows are hiding underground. It's like the approach of any abused populace would take. We see what happened in Germany after the Treaty of Versailles as a real-life example of this change. This isn't just me bashing, but it's a realistic approach people have to suffering. Germans suffered incredibly due to hyperinflation and then the Great Depression, after finally making some progress since the treaty being signed. Is it really a shock that Hitler got into power when they were all suffering? And despite how disgusting that man was, he did live up to his promise and fix up Germany. People followed someone who had their country and people succeed even if it wasn't morally right, but the thing is, no one would enjoy being the victim. Those principles apply here to the adepts, as they were the victims of society up until Eden started making a move, and now adepts outnumber normal people, and the older adepts will have lived through the horrible treatment they faced, such as being experimented on, or seeing their loved ones or people they knew face that or death. Next to the character introductions, which I've not got much interest in Lollybait Kohaku, but I am in how the minnows were operating before they got in contact with Ix, or Copen/Akira, since all of the ones we see in her introduction are children, and realistically they would be the weakest of the lot of the ordinary humans, except for the already injured or weak, like the elderly and medical patients for actual conditions. Weak people would have been easier to kill realistically, so wouldn't the survivors be older and able-bodied unless Sumeragi would spare children our sympathy, despite they aim to eradicate normal humans? As for Copen's profile, it makes sense to how Asia's Striker Gunvolt 2 ended, since he left his family behind after seeing the truth behind Mittel being an adept, and the original possessor of the Mew, Septima. It was a contradiction in his world that his sister was the very thing he hated, so he threw away everything and let her live peacefully. So him not letting others know his actual identity and taking on another name such as Ix works. And now, Lola. This annoys me. It makes no sense for her to keep the Mew's Septima, considering we see in Gunvolt 2 that she could not really use it without the fragment of the Septima. When Zonda takes all the fragments, Lola isn't able to use the Mew's power at all, aside from in the very end, in Symphony with Jewel, when Mittel uses her Septima in the final boss battle of Gunvolt 2. Now that power isn't in Lola at all, or even really in the person the Septima belongs to, which is Mittel. If anything, Nori and Zhao are the last people to see the Muse Septima, and as Nori somehow stored the most powerful ability likely in that world in a pendant. This is bullshit! And then there is the really cool looking and totally not Gunvolt Blade. We know from the previous games that his electric-based Septima is very powerful and he is one of the only 2 people who had it. The original owner is dead, so only he remains. Though we do know Septimas can be very similar, this looks too much like the abilities we all are very familiar with from the first 2 installments. Though something bizarre is, if that is Gunvolt, then what happened to his hair? The ends of it turned purple, like jewels, because of the exposure to the Muse. And from his ending, he possessed the Muse ability to an extent, so why would that fade? I know it wasn't shown in the ending scene of Gunvolt 2, but I feel it was a nice touch which showed Mittel left a lasting impression on him, and since in the boss battle you could use the anthem as Gunvolt yourself, that kinda shows, doesn't it? And then there is just the simple question of, why the hell are you working with Sumeragi? Unless he is aiming to infiltrate Sumeragi from the inside, or is being controlled by Sumeragi's supervisory AI, which by chance could be based on Jewel, or is being blackmailed with Mittel, then the only alternative on why he is working with Sumeragi is he picked a side like Asimov said he would have to, and after everything that has happened, he picked Adepts. But that would beg the question on what happened to Quinn, since he did care for her in some sort of way, and she is an ordinary human. Overall, I'm really looking forward to this game. The release date is a relief, and Inti Creates is aiming to get a physical release, but there is no guarantees. But it's still good to see they are trying to go all out, and you could really see the progression of the game now it is on next gen. It looks so much better. Though there are some things I think need to be in this game, or at least would improve it by being present. One plot point that needs to be addressed is what happened to the pendant with the Muse Septima in it. I also want to see Mittel return and have her remember her brother and lover.
I just wanted to bang you. I'll come by when you're feeling better. We'll bang, okay?
If Blade really is Gunvolt, it will make for a very interesting moment since Mittel is Jewel. And anyone who knows Jewel probably knows, like I do, that she would not be okay with him if he is willingly going around killing normal people with no good reason and is helping Sumeragi after what a group with that name originally did to her as Jewel. And it would be a wake-up call for Copen on how Adepts are just people. He needs to grow into a better person. Gunvolt 2's ending just steeled his original beliefs, and through Gunvolt Chronicles he is seeing Adepts as monsters that need to be killed more in action than it ever was with Eden. He loved his sister, and while without her Septima she was weak and unable to have a full experience of life. But now, even while being whole again, she can't because the world isn't peaceful because of people like him who can't accept the differences and make a peaceful approach. Mittel should also gain her Septima back fully and should be the only one who can use it. It makes no sense, it can be taken from her anyways and put in a pendant, since we see what happened last time when it was removed. She became weak and couldn't speak because her Septima is likely tied to her voice box. We see in the true ending on Gunvolt's side that she can speak, so wouldn't she still have her power logically? To me, it makes more sense if Nori only took a fragment of her power, which she put in the pendant glaive. And Mittel, in reality, still is the Muse, but we don't see that because she has no reason to use or activate her power without her memories. Now the power wasn't out of control like it was in the first place, which is why her father removed it. Having Mittel return only develops more personal reasons for both Gunvolt and Copen to be involved, and could be the driving force that unites them both in a peaceful view. So I think the story would only benefit from having her around. But I don't think this will be covered much by Chronicles and would be held off for the next main series installment they create. But at the very least, they can mention Mittel since both Copen and Lola are tied to her, and I would expect at least one of them to be thinking of her often. The main thing this game will hopefully accomplish is fleshing out Copen more by giving him insight into her depths instead of just fueling him to hate them. There is always a reason behind the bigger acts of people, whether they are good or bad reasons, and whether you understand it or justify it. Adepts have very understandable reasons to start this sort of uprising, and Copen should be smart enough to understand that, even if he can't personally empathise with it. And after what he came to face with his own sister, I would hope he wouldn't just blindly hate them and refuse trying to understand them, because he hates adepts. The interesting idea behind this uprising is the world that would come from removing minnows is the sort of world Mittel would finally perhaps be free, but it also contradicts how Copen feels. The outcome isn't black and white, and no good morally comes from eradicating a group of people to fulfill your own aims. But it would give the winning side security, and unfortunately for the normal humans, there is no way they could succeed versus the adepts, who are now a growing population and have an advantage with the powers they hold. The only reason Copen is able to fight them is because of the technology he made to take the powers of the adepts he kills, which he then can have Lola utilize, so he is fighting fire with fire. Arming every minnow like that wouldn't work, because with the conflict spreading there isn't the time to technologically advance, and they wouldn't have the resources considering the minnows are hiding underground. Copen made Lola with his family's funding behind him in a huge household where he was supported by his maid. Lola wasn't even made with that intention originally at first. Lola was made as a support for Mittel for communication and company. I don't think he would just replicate creating something like her unless it didn't have an AI, since the AI isn't needed for battle functionality with how we see it used. So as a lead up to this game, I plan on playing through the Striker Pack finally. I have played Gunvolt 2 on the 3DS, but Gunvolt 1 had issues so I never completed it. Gunvolt 1 for me wouldn't patch since the patches weren't available for Europe on the store, and the dialogue missing meant I wouldn't get the full experience, so I intentionally held off before getting the Striker Pack so I could have the full experience. I was admittedly pretty irritated at the time, but now I can finally indulge in the experience. I've heard things were changed in the second game though. I haven't been told specifically any of the changes, so I'm interested in seeing what's to come. All of that will be live streamed or let's played on this channel, so hopefully you guys will tune in for it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would appreciate if you would subscribe and like this video. When Gunvolt Chronicles comes out, I will definitely be playing it here. I have a lot of faith in Inti Creates over this game series and have been enjoying it so far, though I am admittedly not very good at these sorts of games.
You see, ladies, there are a lot of websites and a lot of magazines, like Cosmopolitan, BuzzFeed, Elite Daily, whatever, all that cancer. And if you're learning how to get some good pull up in you, you're not going to want to trust the woman. You want to be listening to a real man talking about how to get that pipe. All these magazines